Jones, now with us tonight is someone who's famously being called a difficult woman, and that's the pre-Watershed version.
Now, is it a fair description? Well, let's ask the man who knows her best, because our guests tonight are the Prime Minister, Theresa May, and her husband, Philip.
Welcome to the OneShow.
Well, let's get down to the nitty-gritty then, Philip. I mean, how hard is it to win a negotiation with your wife?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, there's give and take in every marriage, isn't there?
Of course.
Yeah.
I get to decide when I take the bins out, not if I take the bins out.
But, I mean, of
There's
course...
boy jobs and girl jobs, you see.
There's boy jobs
really?
and girl
Who
jobs.
does what boy and girl jobs?
I definitely do the taking the bins out. I do the traditional boy jobs, by and large.
Yeah, yeah. Now, of course, Prime Minister, you famously used the B word when you were describing how difficult you can be. So this is something, obviously, that you do recognise as far as negotiations are concerned.
When I used it, I was, of course, using a description that somebody else, a colleague, had used of me.
Yeah.
But I'm just sort of making the point that actually, you know, when you're in negotiations, you need to be tough.
Yeah.
And actually, it's right to be tough sometimes, particularly when you're doing something for the country.
Yes, yes. And recently you went on a lovely walking holiday in Snowdonia.
Absolutely.
And you came back and decided that you would call an election. Now, originally you said that you wouldn't do that until 2020, but obviously you'd had a change of mind. What was the conversation then that led up to that point? And, Philip, did you think, hang on, we're on holiday here, what are we having this chat about now for?
When you're married to the PM, of course, work inevitably intrudes, but...
I mean, it was... I had said, as you said, that I wouldn't have an election for 2020, because when I became PM last year, I think the most important thing was stability.
Yes.
And I wanted to give the country that stability and show that we were getting on with the Brexit process. But when we were going through the process of triggering Article 50, it just became clear that other parties were looking ahead to disrupt negotiations, and I just felt it was important to have an election, to get a clear mandate, and then take that forward and strengthen the UK's hand in negotiating, because it is going to be tough.
Yeah, so with that particular walking holiday then, did you go to clear your mind so that you would get sorted, or is it something that just kind of happened when you were there?
Because we love walking in the Welsh mountains. I mean, that is the
good
reason.
choice.
That is the reason we go.
Yeah.
We do love it.
It is. I think it's great.
Idris is beautiful,
Cardiff.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
When we eventually get to the top, I'll be able to tell you.
We have been up once.
We've been up once.
Yes.
What was the drive back to London like when you know, once you'd decided?
Well, I don't think it was any different from... I mean, the point is that, you know, in this role, from time... You are making tough decisions. I'm making tough decisions from time to time. And I think the important thing is that whatever you're looking at, whatever you're doing, do what you think is right.
Yeah.
And you know, when you've decided what you think is right, then just get on with the job and get on with it.
And head down. Well, yes. Now, one European institution, I'm sure the Mays are firmly behind, is Eurovision. We're not leaving that as well, are we?
No. Although I'm tempted to say, in current circumstances, I'm not sure how many votes we'll get.
Yeah, well, that's going to be very interesting come
potentially.
Saturday. Very interesting indeed.
Well, it's...
Lots of food for thought there. But, of course, Prime Minister, politicians, I mean, they have a major responsibility in this as well. As soon as you bring spin doctors into the mix and they're asking you to present maybe stories that aren't 100% true. And have you ever been in situations like that where you've given in to the spin doctors?
Well, the way I approach my politics is that, to me, I'm actually going out and asking people to vote for me. I'm asking them to put their trust in me.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that I'm open with them and tell it as it is.
Yeah.
When I'm addressing them. But we've had our own experience of sort of
Yes, we have.
fake news way back when I was wanting to be selected for a seat. One of the newspapers reported I was going to have trouble being selected to fight a seat as a Conservative candidate because of my new baby. Well, we didn't have a baby.
No.
And we didn't think any more of it until that afternoon my mother-in-law rang.
My mum rang, though she thought perhaps it was saying we hadn't told her.
Oh, really?
So she was disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure she was very disappointed.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning then. You spoke about your mum-in-law there. You were the daughter of a vicar, very solid upbringing. Was there any chance that you would have rebelled at all, or, you know, the values that were instilled then, are those the values that you've very much taken forward with you?
Yes, I think they are. I mean, there were several things. I mean, my very much, obviously, being brought up in a vicarage, it's you get to meet a whole range of different people from all types of backgrounds. And one of the things my father taught me is that you should take people as you find them, not have any preconceptions about people, and treat everybody equally.
Yeah.
And that was an important lesson that I had. But of course, you know, life in a vicarage is different.
Because you get so many people coming in to see you, don't
People
you?
calling
You just
all the
meet so
time,
many people in the
don't they?
village,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And is it right your father was a shoe salesman?
Yes, he worked in for a footwear company for the whole of his career, in fact, as people did in those days. You know, joined the same company in the late 1940s and carried on doing that till the 1980s when he retired. Yeah.
So you see that upbringing and that contact, as you say, you know, it gives you that insight of the majority of working Britain.
I think so, yes. I mean, I think that's the point. I've had the opportunity to interact, to meet, to talk to people and to see an insight into people's lives. And, of course, that's what you're able to do as a Member of Parliament, of course, you know, with people who come to you in your surgery and so forth. You really get an insight into people's lives.
What's your earliest memory, then, of wanting to become Prime Minister? Because many people say, you know, oh, she didn't necessarily want to, it just happened. But what is the actual truth on that?
Well, there are one or two stories go around which I don't recognise myself about how early I might have thought about this. And not really. I mean, one of the other things that I was taught by my parents is whatever job you're doing, just get on and do your best in that job. And that's how I've approached everything in my career. And so that's what I was doing. But
So
of course... Sorry.
Well, I knew you were interested in politics, but I never heard Theresa say she wanted to be Prime Minister until, you know, until she was well established in you know, in the shadow cabinet.
But then we were looking at some footage, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we found you, Philip, back in 1986.
Yes, the Conservative Party conference.
Yes.
Right, there you go. So it could very much have been you, Philip.
So how did you decide which one was going to stand for office and which one would kind of do, you know, if you want a sort of a normal job?
I'm not sure it was a sort of...
No, I don't think it was quite as sort of
It just...
thought through as that, in a way. It's that we were asked if one of us would like to stand for the local council, and you were very keen to stand, and rightly so, actually.
And it sort of fitted at the time.
It just worked for us,
Work-wise.
Because really where it all started was university, and you were studying geography, is that right? So did you have a sense then that you wanted to change Britain? And I'm not talking about being Prime Minister here, just getting into politics.
Well, I wanted to become an MP from quite an early age. From when I was at school, I wanted to become an MP.
Yeah.
And as Philip says, obviously, when we met, he knew that I was interested in politics.
Yeah.
And it's always, for me, it's always been about making a difference.
Right.
Because politics is about people, and it's about improving people's lives. And it's about just feeling that the decisions you're taking, you have to, as I said earlier, take what you believe to be the right decision, but doing things that really will help people to get on and have a better future.
And can you describe the minute? Because I think lots of people don't feel that they necessarily know a lot about you as the person. How did it feel when it dawned on you, oh my gosh, I'm going to become Prime Minister, this is it?
Well, I mean, obviously, having taken the decision to stand for the Conservative Party leadership last summer, that you think about that. But I think when perhaps it absolutely dawns on you when you're walking through the door of number 10 for the first time in that role. And it's a huge privilege, but you also actually do feel a huge responsibility.
Oh, I'm sure.
It is very, I think, speaking as a spouse, the whole thing's very, you know, very humbling, really. You think, gosh, you know, so many people are entrusting their futures to Theresa and the team she leads, and I just think that's incredible, really.
Yeah. It's interesting you're talking about the team there, because since the year dot, it's always been about the Conservative Party. But as far as the kind of marketing that we've seen over the last few days is concerned, it's very much been about you, Prime Minister, and, you know, vote for me, Theresa May, and, you know, my local candidates as well. So how comfortable are you sitting with that kind of... It's quite presidential in that way.
Well, it's not. I mean, it is about the Conservative Party. It's about a team of people in the Conservative Party. And obviously I'm the leader of that party, the leader of that team. But it's also about the fact that I think at this election, the choice is about leadership. For the future
about individuals,
of the country.
right?
Well, it's about having a strong and stable government. It's about strong and stable leadership, because, you know, we mentioned earlier, tough negotiations coming ahead. There will be tough times getting Brexit right. And I think you need to have that stability and that certainty to be able to do that. But it's not just about Brexit, it's about taking the country beyond Brexit as well.
OK, we're going to move on.
Right, we're going to talk about your partnership now, because this is what everybody wants to know. So you were intro to each other at Oxford Uni, weren't you? So we'll go in turn. Philip first. First impressions of your wife-to-be at the time.
What a lovely girl. She still is.
Philip, did you fancy her instantly?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
No, it was love at first sight, absolutely.
And likewise, then, Prime Minister.
Yes.
Well, it sounds a bit like This Is Your Life, this, doesn't it? Love blossomed, and then you were married by your father.
Yes.
We've actually got your wedding photo here. So many faces, and you know, when you look at that photo, what memories does that bring for you, Prime Minister?
Oh gosh, well, I mean, it's those are my obviously my parents and my mother's mother, so my maternal grandmother there. So I mean, I suppose it brings back huge memories of just a very happy childhood, actually. I mean, we were talking earlier about life in a vicarage, which is slightly different, but it's just very happy, very stable. I was very fortunate, very stable, and I think crucially from my parents, they were very much of the view that it was up to me what I wanted to do. They didn't sort of say, you can't do that because you're a girl, or you can't do this. You know, it was very much...
Which is great, isn't it?
Which is great.
And time was incredibly precious with them at that point, because it was only a year or so later when things didn't go so
Yes, that's right. Not that we were to know that, of course, at that point.
Yeah, so it's very much a treasured photograph, I'm sure. And behind every busy woman, and you're particularly busy, is always a strong and very supportive husband. What are the downsides, though, Philip, you know, in being married to the Prime Minister?
Well, first of all, it's an enormous privilege for Theresa to, you know, for Theresa to be doing this job, for me to be there alongside her, and I think I get to meet the most fascinating, interesting people. I get to do some things I wouldn't otherwise do, and you know, it is a huge privilege. So there isn't really a downside, but obviously, if you're the kind of man who expects his tea to be on the table at 6 o'clock every evening, you could be a little bit disappointed.
Do you make the tea?
From time to time.
From time to time.
Teresa's a very good cook. Teresa's a very, very good cook indeed, actually. And you have a large number of cookery books.
I have a large number of cookery books, yes. At home, obviously, we live in the flat in Downing Street, but we like to get home at weekends, and that's where most of my cookery books are. So.
And, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, who knows what time it is, because every day must be different, but when you get home, how do you try and leave work at number 10? And Philip, what do you see your role as being here?
Just try to give Theresa as much support as I possibly can, Matt. I think that's just really important. I mean, it's obviously a very tough job. There are a lot of tough decisions, a lot of things that, you know, you really have to work very hard at as PM, and I think I'm there to give Theresa as much support as I possibly can, just the way she's always given me support.
I was going to say, it's because it's
a two-way street.
It is a two-way street, absolutely right.
And when you've experienced so much of each other's lives, because you met when you were so young, and all of this has happened to you, you must feel like you're almost one, as opposed to individuals.
Yes, I suppose it's...
Well,
but I mean, I think the point is we're still individuals, but we know each other really well. You know, when you've been married as long as we have, nearly 37 years, you get to know each other, you know, really well.
And who has banned the red box from the bedroom? Which one?
I don't think it's ever made an appearance in the bedroom. I've never had to try and sort of get it out. Shoo it out. No.
Yeah. How happy are you with the whole shoe thing, Prime Minister? And, you know, do you wish it was just, you know, left be and you enjoy your fashion and this, that and the other? I mean, everybody seems to be commenting on it.
Well, look, I like buying nice shoes. So that gives me, and it gives me a reason for going and buying some more. But it can have it can have a serious side to it. And just to tell you a little story, this happened about, I suppose, 4 or 5 years ago. I was in the lift in the House of Commons, and there was a young woman in the lift, and I happened to look down, and I said, "Oh, nice pair of shoes." And she said, "Oh, I like your shoes." And then she looked at me and she said, "Your shoes got me involved in politics."
Right.
And now, you know, but there was somebody who'd, you know, through something quite sort of normal, just seeing an interest in shoes, she got interested in politics and was now working in the House of Commons. So,
what's your shoe equivalent, Philip?
That's a very good question, actually. I quite like sort of... I mean, ties, although I'm not wearing one this evening. But I mean, like jackets, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, fairly normal.
Is there much
stuff,
space for you in the wardrobe at number 10, though?
I sort of get a little section carved out for myself.
Excellent.
Well, we're going to say thank you very much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure to meet you both.
Yeah.